to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Ben Slinger, and with me as always is Trevor Scott. Hello. So I think we will jump right in to some Click Pitch this week. Trevor, do you want to tell our friends at home what Click Pitch is all about?
Click Pitch is a game where we've each got a random word generator in front of us. On the count of 3, 2, 1, click. We're going to click, refresh, get those words, throw them at each other, come up with a game design. Then when it doesn't work, throw it away.
That's it. I think that might be our most succinct and quickest intro yet. I've just ruined it by pointing it out. All right, let's do it. 3, 2, 1, click.
Flexibility.
Frenzy. Okay. All right, my very first thought, and I'm going to go with this because it's improv, was some sort of gas that makes people go into a frenzy, gets pumped into a yoga studio, and somehow you're having to like fight your way through all these uber flexible enemies that I don't know. Like I said, first thought.
Okay, because I basically had almost a mini game I was going to say as part of it. Like, I'm imagining that it's this fast-paced, the game Horse for basketball. Yep. Well, basically, you contort yourself into a certain shape, and then the other player has a time limit to get into that same shape, or they get a letter.
Okay, I like the idea of doing something with like some ragdoll physics. What are the controls on this? Are you like dragging limbs around?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe it's like a... All right, okay, here's the thing. Do you remember Stretch Armstrong?
Yes.
I feel like a VR game where you're kind of manipulating stretchy,
you're the puppet
ragdolly
master.
sort of... Yeah, like stretchy ragdolly sort of toys or humanoids in some way could be kind of neat.
Ooh, I'm kind of getting it like it's a third person adventure where you move them with the thumbsticks, but the way that you attack is you actually grab their arms and fling them off in places to basically like you're playing with a Stretch Armstrong doll.
Yeah, I was kind of going along similar lines where. Yeah, at least part of the gameplay, or at least part of the things you're doing in the game is pulling on this stretchy creature and then letting it go to like fire it off in that direction. Now, whether it's that you can just pick it up and fire it in any direction, I feel like maybe that's a bit too overpowered, but maybe it's something like you get to certain points in the level where there's something for them to hold on to, and then you can like grab onto their legs and stretch them in a direction and then let go. So that's sort of how you're helping them through that part of the level.
And then you got stretch-based platforming where you grab onto two things, pull back, and you launch yourself forwards, but then let go at the right time to actually launch yourself forwards.
Yeah, that sort of thing could be cool too. And like you said, combat as well. Obviously, being able to propel yourself into enemies to do some damage, or like a surprise attack, or like a spin attack where you've stretched them out so that they can hit more enemies in a big circle. That's cool.
That is
all right. Is there anything more we can do with those stretchy mechanics?
I think you can have maybe lots of different levels with different characters, like that can stretch. So you got Stretch Armstrong in one of the levels. Then you got Mr. Fantastic.
We're licensing Stretch Armstrong.
You got
I see. Then you got Elastigirl.
Then I was going to go, Elastigirl. And I'm just trying to think, is there any other like stretchy sort of characters?
I'm sure there are probably more knockoffs of Mr. Fantastic that you could go.
Oh, you've got I've forgotten what his name is from like the DC universe, but he's been in Flash recently.
Okay, well, and also just any sort of goo-based characters. Yep. You know what I mean? Like something that can kind of shapeshift a bit, or the blob, or the blob character from Hotel Transylvania. Because why not? But is the gameplay the same in them all? Is this just a different skin, or is it different mechanics?
I think there's slight differences.
Okay,
slight different mechanics. Like Elastigirl, her thing is more about turning into the shape of something that she needs to.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily about stretchy fighting, but it's more about, okay, she's got some stealth stuff where she's falling from here, she turns herself into a bit of a parachute, then she just, sort of comes together and she can move very quickly between.
Like stretches herself around doors as guards go through. So are we still thinking...
that's more the stealth
element.
We
still thinking, though, that you as the VR player are having to, like, manipulate them into these shapes?
I think so.
Okay.
I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm literally picturing you, like, grabbing Elastigirl's head.
Smearing her on the wall.
And, basically smearing her, like, over the top of a doorway. So she's hidden and stretched out. That's kind of bizarre. Now, the other thing is there some potential in multiplayer where you're, like, flinging these characters at each other, or, like, I can just picture a scene, a moment where you each have one end of a character and whoever lets go first is going to do damage to the other, but it's almost like playing chicken with this stretchy thing, because, if you hold on longer, you're going to do more damage, but they might let go at any moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Something there.
Yep.
All right. But we're not going to explore it further because we spent enough time on this, and that's what we do. We just...
3, 2, 1, quick.
We squeeze the juice out of it and then move on. All right. Refraction.
Threat.
Ooh.
I kind of like the idea of, like, this new satellite that's been launched that is just like a giant mirror that is threatening. Like, I'm thinking the North and South Pole. Basically, they're targeting, like, the rays directly at polar ice
I
caps.
like that, except that's fine, except instead of a mirror, because we didn't get reflection, we got refraction. It is a prism.
A prism. Okay, yeah.
It is some sort of prism that is just like, like focusing the sun's light at the poles as it orbits.
Kind of like a huge magnifying glass.
Kind of. It's a complicated prism that refracts and bends the light appropriately to, become a big magnifying glass and melt the poles. This is the real cause of climate change, don't you know?
And it's also the real cause of rainbows.
That's it. Light would not split if it weren't for these prisms giving us rainbows. So, it's a mixed blessing. Death of the human race, but rainbows. So
I'm picturing that it's like some guy who didn't quite go all the way through high school. He just made it through, like, to 9th grade physics or something like that. That learned about refraction and decided, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Not realizing that, he'd be focusing light onto the poles. All he's trying to do is just get, for his country, like, a continuous stream of rainbows because it makes everyone happy.
Okay, that's interesting. So this is not an evil genius. This is a misguided dummy who has threatened the entire human race accidentally.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. So his country is just constantly covered in rainbows.
Yep.
Let's make him Australian, because why not? We have a lot of dummies here who didn't get past 9th grade physics. Australia is now the land of rainbows. Where the bloody hell are you?
Not Australia, but Tasmania is now the land of rainbows.
You have something against Tasmania. This is a common thread.
I'm thinking because it's close to Antarctica.
Yeah.
And it's the closest part of Australia that's to Antarctica, that I think he got the idea because of, like, the
Northern Lights or something.
The Aurora Australialis, or the Southern Lights, or whatever you want to call it. And I realized, this would be cool if we could, like, have a permanent Aurora lights here
over Tasmania. And because of the prism, it's not just the sort of standard greeny color that you see, it's literal rainbows.
Yeah, but it's the wavy sort of thing that you see, but with the Southern Lights, but you just get it as all different colours, and it's at all times.
Day and night, constantly present. All right. Yep. I love that.
So it's a land of happiness.
Until the sea levels rise and threaten all life.
Yeah, but he doesn't realise that's happening.
All right, so let's talk the game, because I love that setup. Are you playing someone trying to stop this? Are you playing the guy who set it up? and realizing what...
I think you're playing a scientist who's working in Antarctica.
Does he follow the rainbow?
All of a sudden he notices that the area that he's looking into is getting warmer and warmer and warmer, and it's staying brighter a lot longer. You know, it's normally it'd be getting dark around 5, but it's now getting dark around 9, and it's just, you know, it's a pretty much a focused beam of sunlight that is
right. Okay.
That is causing the area just to warm up around this whole area of Antarctica that he's in.
Maybe this is a game where you're not playing one single protagonist. You almost get these vignettes as different people around the world start figuring out what's going on. And so, the opening scene is this like Antarctologist or whatever, a scientist working there. You've just got a little scene where you're like going and you're measuring your different core samples or whatever, and you're testing the different things and the levels of stuff and the temperature and noticing these anomalies. Maybe there's a couple people there, so you've got conversation going, and it's like, what the hell is going on here? Like, you know, this is completely unusual behavior. And maybe at the end of that vignette, they're like, you know, yeah, it's like it's 10 p.m. Like it should have got dark hours ago, and one of them's just like, is that a rainbow? They just see it off in the distance, and then it like cuts to that, fades that one out, and then it's, you know, whatever's next.
I like the idea that it's set in the 80s and he's actually there looking at the hole in the ozone layer or something like that, trying to investigate.
Oh, has this also caused the hole in the ozone layer?
Yeah, I think that, you know, it's like the secret, you know, yes, they blamed CFCs, but it had a lot to do with this Australian who caused basically the land of rainbows.
Let's be specific, Tasmanian. We don't want to...
No, it's hidden behind, like, all secrecy. Yeah. You know, only, like, the President of the United States and like, the Prime Minister actually knows who this is.
I mean, I think this is them figuring it out, right, though? This is what the game is. I think this guy...
No, but we're talking about in the future that, like, it's still so secret that, like, this actually happened. But I like the idea that in your second one where maybe it's a scientist in South America or something like that who happened to also detect these things. On one of the computers, you can actually see, like, a report that actually comes through at some stage, and it's got the name of the original protagonist from the first part. So
you're saying just the first part is like in the 80s?
Oh no, just I'm picturing that it's all sort of based around the same time, but they're all somewhat interconnected.
Okay,
but you get like the person's name in a report somewhere that, you know, you can sort of skim over, but it doesn't really make any sense. Maybe it's not about
you obviously put these connections between to show the time frame and to show that these people are all seeing this happen. So I guess what I'm saying though is, has this prism just gone up? Like, how long has it been up there, and how did it get up there? And I think part of it is discovering that, obviously, but
yeah, I think maybe the prism has been there for maybe 3 or 4 months at this stage.
Okay,
but they had to kind of change the angle, to get a better set of rainbows happening. Like, because people were flocking to Tasmania during the 80s
to see these rainbows.
Yeah. And, you know, he kept changing the angle to make them more intense and had other effects. Yeah,
so, I mean, we need to explore that as well, because obviously, all right, in this world, in the 80s, Tasmania started just getting constant rainbows. God, that's a ridiculous sentence. At what point is the connection made between these rainbows and these other phenomena? And I mean, obviously, that's part of what we're exploring, but how long does it take? Like, is this over decades before we realize, or is it over the course of a year? Like, what's the sort of time frame, do you think? Because I feel like it couldn't take too long.
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking that it's that the start of it is like 1982, 1983, and then by 1988 they realize, you know, so it's sort of set over these 6 years, and, you know, the damage is sort of done and set in stone that, you know, is actually causing all these issues.
All right, so how do they... Because obviously they're going to discover it at some point. And you know, that might even be... We probably want to see that scene where the connection is finally made that, what the hell, like, some drongo in Tasmania, like, did this person just send up their own kind of satellite? They managed to get enough skills to fire this thing into space? Or, like, how did they get it up there?
Yeah, I think they maybe hijacked...
Oh, maybe there was like...
Not hijacked, but
it was like the failed Australian Space Force. And this is part of why it failed. Like, they sent their first major shuttle launch exploded, and it's because of the weight, difference, because fucking Darren had put this prism in, managed to stow it away in the payload. But luckily, like, it got up into orbit, and then he had some sort of remote control, perhaps, or I don't know, to then be able to actually maneuver it into the position that he needed it. Pretty good for a 9th grade dropout, but still endangered the entire human race.
So I think it was by the Australian Research and Space Exploration Team.
Australian Research and Space. Okay, ARSET.
ARS.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
It's basically, if you go to spaceaustralia.com.au, it's Australian Research and Space Exploration. Space
Wait, is that a real thing?
Yes. Well,
it's a satire.
It's a satire. Okay. I just think it's great that it's arse.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
But the idea that in this world that it's arse as well. So the failed arse experiment that, we sent a prism up into space, or we sent a satellite into space, and with it went this guy's great idea for a prism in space. And
so, I mean, there needs to be obviously some sort of, we need a scene where they're kind of monitoring satellites around the Earth, and they finally, I think it's pretty small, so like it takes them a long time to discover it. And so there's maybe some nice fun little scenes where you're like changing frequencies and like locking on to follow the rainbow, as it were, basically, to find what's at the end of the rainbow and discover that this prism is in outer space. And then it's a matter of, then you see scenes of like, well, can we just shoot it down? Or like, well, now, our rockets aren't accurate enough. Oh, maybe fucking Reagan's Star Wars scheme was invented to destroy this thing.
Yep. When did that actually happen?
I'm pretty sure that was the 80s.
I'm hoping that it's like 1988, because I kind of want it to culminate in like bicentennial celebrations that happened.
Not quite. It was announced publicly in 83, and it was working. Yeah, but no, by 88 it was kind of done with. But that's not to say we can't change history. The timing, otherwise, it's the right decade. We're kind of in the right spot.
Yeah, I kind of like that it all culminates in it's the last final days of this celebration leading up to the bicentennial, where it's been said that this guy is going to give a light show that Tasmania's never seen before, and he's planning on
basically he would incinerate,
making it more intense for the bicentennial.
Basically,
so
if he did this, he's going to incinerate large portions of the planet. Tasmania will get an incredible light show, but it will kill millions of people. And so I think, Darren doesn't even realize at this point. He just thinks he's like this clever guy who's put this thing into space to create fucking rainbows.
And, he's awesome. Dazza and his mates are thinking that it's great. He's getting, kickbacks from Tourism Tasmania.
Living the high life. Yeah.
He single-handedly got all this stuff happening. I'm just imagining all these like vignettes that he keeps on going back, and it's just this guy, almost Billy Madison like, drinking and
totally.
With all his friends.
I'm getting elements of like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, where people are making requests and stuff for like shapes in the sky and different things, and he's like, yeah, sure, like, and every time that happens. Someone says like, can you make the peace sign in the sky? And he's like, yeah, I can do that. Like and you see this peace sign rainbow, and then like over in fucking Africa, you see this giant like section of a fucking forest or something.
Just have like giant, this line just cut.
Well, this giant peace sign burnt into it. Like this is actually this is the cause of crop circles, because it's just like creating these shapes in fucking cornfields.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so I'm imagining, it sort of like turns into almost like a Moonraker-esque James Bond sort of thing at the end, where our final hero has to sort of travel up in space to take out the prism.
Oh yeah, there's a bit of like Armageddon-esque Like maybe it ends up being a bit of a suicide mission.
Yeah. And, you know, like they've got 2 space shuttles going in and one of them gets taken out by this, you know, hyper intensive ray of sunlight.
Yeah, because
it just cuts the space shuttle
because
in
someone
half
asked Darren to draw a dick and balls in the sky. Well, then I'm just
imagining this pure laser just cuts this space shuttle in half and like,
just,
you know, it sort of splits,
I love the idea. I love this. I'm picturing this scene. I'm picturing this scene of, it's like this fucking epic, the shuttle's going up. It's like, we're nearly there, you know, we're both going to make it because they've set up the 2 teams or whatever. And then all of a sudden the prism shifts and this beam of laser comes out, just cuts it in half. They're screaming, it's loud or whatever. And then right in the middle of that, it cuts to Tasmania and it's like, put an extra ball hair on there. You see this rainbow dick in the sky. That is that extra ball hair that like killed that fucking team people. Make it ejaculate.
Just, you know, I imagine if you don't manage to actually get up there and stop all this, then it shows the aftermath of basically, you know, Tasmania completely underwater, and it turns like all of Australia kind of into that world from Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, where only like the mountains are above above the water.
There's just fucking constant rainbows still. I'm kind of picturing as well, like the idea that he controls it and it looks like an Etch-a-Sketch. Like the things that he draws in the sky. He's got the 2 knobs.
Either that or, because it's in the 80s, it's all controlled by logo. Yes,
right.
Go forward 20.
Yeah. That's good too. Oh my God. Fucking Darren.
Has to use the turtle. Fucking does it.
All right.
That's
3
great. Love it. Surname.
Duet. This could be a romance. We haven't done many romance games.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a romantic comedy of some sort. Now, how that plays out in game form, we can decide, but I feel like because of duet, there's some sort of singing involved.
I kind of like the idea of the duet being just
a relationship.
These 2 people that happen to meet up that have the same surname, and that's what sort of gets them talking.
Okay.
At the start.
Is it an unusual surname? Because I feel like that would kind of...
Yeah, I like the idea that it's a sort of unusual surname. They meet each other, I'm thinking, in like some backwoods pub in the middle of nowhere, you know, basically whoop whoop in Australia. Okay. And it's just sort of like a road trip of these 2 people heading to whatever it is, Sydney or... Yeah,
they're heading for some major city and this is them in sort of, the outback roads of Australia in between... Yeah, like interstate.
You can basically choose your character at the start.
Yep.
And things are going to run the same way.
Yeah.
You know, the only difference being that you get to choose like the dialogue.
Yeah. So I think it's a bit of kind of just a bit of a narrative, you know, fairly just straightforward narrative game. Obviously, you might have some mild branching in there based on your dialogue choices. I don't think you'd make it like major divergent from sort of the main story.
No, the idea being that, you know, you can experience from both players' point of view and you can sort of see how the conversations would go if, you know, you did something different to what the computer originally selected. I just had this vision of what if the first time that you played it through as one character, you know, obviously the computer chooses some dialogue options, but then the next time you play it through, the options that the computer selects are your original options.
So you're saying that there's the 2
slightly different.
Because I was thinking when you were saying you select your character that you just meant you've got some version of character selection, but you still play the same side of the couple. But you're saying you can play either side of the couple. Okay. Yes. But are they set characters or is there some sort of...
No, I like the idea of there being some sort of set characters. I mean, I suppose you could go what was that? What was that game that...
Oh, that game.
Was it Firewalk?
Firewatch?
Firewatch. Where you were sort of walking at the very start of the game, you got to sort of select a few things that
define your background and stuff.
That defines your background.
Yeah, well, and I'm also just thinking,
like
in a game like this, you could probably fairly easily make it that, you can select the gender of each character or of your character perhaps, and and mostly keep the rest of the stuff the same, but just give that extra bit of representation and an extra bit of sort of customizability for how this love story plays out, for what the player, the type of couple that the player would like to see fall in love and experience this adventure.
Exactly. Yeah, so there's no reason why you couldn't have, if you wanted to, you could have a female meet up with another female, and you wanted to have a lesbian
that's what
story.
I mean. Yeah, exactly. And for the most part, I think the rest of the game would play out. You could perhaps have some custom scenes to address, the particular kind of gender mix, just because, if it's a gay couple, then they may come across homophobia or different things along their travels, and that could be part of their experience. But yeah, I think otherwise you can pretty much keep it the same, right?
Some of the same things that would be happening is, when you first turn up, your character has had the car break down, and you really need to get to this place, and that's why you're now meeting up with this other
that's it.
person.
I think then we just have a pretty straightforward story, and the gameplay just comes from, almost like a bit of a Telltale game or whatever. You're just playing through the story with some different dialogue options and different ways to, maybe there are a couple of choices where you can take different forks, different routes, and you'll end up with different little scenes that you get to play.
Yeah, you go past the dog in the taco box, or you decide to skip that because there's too many people hanging around.
Yeah, so you've got some choices.
You don't want to be judged.
Yeah. You've got some choices in what you experience and the way the game goes, but generally, it's about just getting to know this other person and experiencing that relationship kind of blossom throughout this road trip.
Yeah, that could be kind of cool. I mean, you can have simple sort of vignettes that sort of happen along the way. I'm picturing, who gets to sleep on the couch and who sleeps in the bed and at like the motel.
And actually now that I'm thinking of it, I wonder if we could make this a little bit more systems based and add some more gameplay in there. So rather than just a straight kind of Telltale-ish or like a Life is Strange or whatever, where it's sort of these set scenes and these set things that play out, I think you do still have the vignettes that you may or may not run into. But maybe you've also got like driving sections, right? Where you've actually got a little bit of gameplay where you get to drive and there's conversation going on, or you're seeing or even dumb stuff like you could have a rhythm mini game because you're both singing along in the car. It's sort of getting to experience a bit of the actual relationship through gameplay, almost adding a bit of like Florence in there where they really used, relatively simple gameplay mechanics to really evoke the relationship.
Yeah. And thing is, depending on your choices, it may just turn into a good friendship.
Yeah,
or it may turn into...
It may go bad.
Into arguments that they hate each other.
Well, I think... and that could be it, right? I think they always do fall in love in some way, but...
It could be a platonic friendship, but they're friends
or
forever
like you
sort of thing.
decide that you're not right for romantic love, or... Yeah, you literally like start getting into fights. You realize that, it's a love that's just not going to actually work out. Or it's just or maybe you do realize that, okay, it's not actually love. It's just like the excitement, the whirlwind romance, and that this isn't actually going to happen. Obviously, you don't want to add too much in there in the way of branching, but I think you could kind of have a spectrum of outcomes and then sort of different endings or different conversation options based on where you are on that spectrum.
Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be some incompatibilities. There's always going to be some compatibilities.
Yeah. But again,
being able to play that out in a systems-based
Well, that's it. A bit more of a systems-based thing.
Some rhythm, some quick times.
And even some like almost not to this level because I don't want you to die of dysentery, but almost a bit of Oregon Trail.
You're
making decisions about when to stop for the night because you've only got so much money, perhaps. You know, maybe you even take some odd jobs here and there because it's a long road trip. And, you know, so it's like, oh, you know, do you need a dishwasher or whatever? I don't know, whatever, you know, odd job you'd take along the way.
Now I'm just picturing when you get to these different places, then you can just have like these WarioWare style games.
Almost, yeah.
Like
it could just be these little
micro
mini games, these micro games.
Changing a tire, and it's like, okay, quickly get off the all the nuts, and so you're like,
well, and I don't think as quick as WarioWare, because the benefit of these would be, again, exploring that relationship, right? Like, you're both there, depending on where you are on that sort of relationship spectrum. Like, if you're really clicking with this person, then they help you out on these mini games, and that works really well. Or even how
not, then they're throwing the tire at you while
something,
while
or they're just not helping, or they're arguing
nuts.
and distracting you, or like even the outcome of how well you play the mini game itself, like a timing based thing or whatever. Like, maybe they get frustrated at you because you're not managing to get the nuts off this tire or whatever. And again, like, that could actually affect that relationship balance in different ways. Yeah, more and more I like the idea of putting this into a systems-based thing, and then somehow, but still really getting a strong, like, narrative relationship out of that. And either it ends in this incredibly romantic, satisfying way, or it's kind of this tragic split up at the end because, like, you got on really well, but you have to do different things with your life, or it's this, you know, you went on this adventure with this person, but by the end of it, you hated them and you couldn't stand the sight of them, but you still had to, like, get to the same place because you committed to driving there together. Yep. Yeah, like, there's some different ways that could go, and I feel like it's the sort of game that you'd play over to try to do better, or to try to, you know, see the different endings and stuff. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. That's cool. 3, 2, 1.
And hey, I like that I even got the singing in there. Smokestack.
Now you make me want to go with my original word that I wasn't going to go with. Pope.
The Pope? Did you say Pope?
Yep.
I can't picture anything.
Just because of the smokestack, and it's like it works perfectly with, you know, the idea of choosing the new Pope.
Oh,
sort of so I
didn't even think of that. I just totally got an image of smoke coming out of his hat. That was it. Okay, but yeah, you're right. Like,
so
they
kind
do
of
the
thinking
smoke, the Pope smoke.
So I think it's like that's part of the story as to what's happening in the background. It's not necessarily the only thing happening in this game. I think it's just that's somewhat the background to your trip to
the Vatican or something,
to Italy. Yeah, to the Vatican. It just so happens that they're choosing a pope at the time, and yeah, I think some hijinks can maybe happen while you're there. Kind of like your Angels and Demons or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, your Robert Langdon sort of thriller.
So the Vatican involved in some sort of conspiracy, or at least as the background to some sort of conspiracy, and you're uncovering it.
Yeah. And I don't think it's, you know, disgusting and real worldy sort of thing.
Like the Vatican, yeah.
Yeah.
No, let's... Yeah, I know. There's obviously some very troublesome stuff there, and the Vatican in Catholic Church is a horrible, horrible organization. So, but and I don't want to just ignore that and use their name and stuff as the background, but all right, well, let's sidestep it a bit, just because I don't really want to get into that. Otherwise I might start ranting. Let's come up with another reason for the smoke, but it's a similar thing, right? Maybe it's still a religious thing. Maybe it's a made up religion somewhere else in the world, but otherwise similarly done. What's
or it's in the Futurama world where it's the space pope.
Maybe this is like a corporate thing. Maybe this is a situation where there's this giant company and they basically consider themselves a higher power, right? To the point that they do have a smokestack for like when they get a new CEO, right? Like
in this thing, originally, I'm thinking that John Pope actually
founded the company.
He founded this company, and I'm thinking sort of like an automobile or something like that, because I kind of like the idea that his first thing was like a Pope-mobile.
Well, and then it makes sense for the fucking pollution as well. It's like a horrible company that's put a hell of a lot of carbon into the atmosphere.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that John Pope never actually had any kids. So when he retired, he put into like the bylaws of like whatever this company's called.
Pope Motors.
Well, I was thinking either Vati Motors or something like that. Right. It's kind of like going off
Vaticars.
the Vaticars.
Jesus. All right. So this guy basically considered himself like the religious leader of the automotive industry. Okay.
Yeah. He put into the bylaws of the company that when it was time to choose a new CEO, it was a unanimous vote, and they'd once the new CEO was selected, then you put this special chemical on the fire and the smoke would turn purple or whatever.
And of course, his like middle management are cardinals, just like in the actual Vatican. Capital C Cardinals.
But they got to dress like birds.
No, they got to dress like cars.
As in the cardinal.
They've all got different, like, they've got like a...
Oh, cardinals.
Yeah, Cardinals. This is what I'm saying. It's a fucking car company. They've all got like these special robes that have like the grill on the front with the headlights, and it was really inappropriate when they finally opened up, the upper management to women because the headlights are in an inappropriate place and they had to redesign the robes.
Yeah.
That sort of thing that would actually happen.
I'm thinking that the last product launch didn't go too well for the last CEO, and
that's why
he tried doing. Well, I was thinking he tried doing a Vati van.
Right, but the pun didn't work. He should have called it the Vatican.
Didn't work as well. Exactly.
So he got fired. Well, maybe this is that. Now everybody is waiting with bated breath for the smoke to see if it's black smoke that this CEO got fired, or white smoke that he gets to keep his position. And gets another chance. And
by fired, that it literally means put
that's
into
it.
the
Like
fire.
The black smoke is literally his ashes.
Oh, God.
Because this is it's become a religious thing in this world.
So are you just a lowly factory worker?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think if you're an outsider or not. Like similar to the kind of Robert Langdon style thing where there's all this history now of this company, and you're coming in. Like, and perhaps it's that you are coming to a different country where, this company basically is the prevailing religion almost. Like it's so heavily capitalist here, and so many people work for this company because there's just factories everywhere spewing out smoke as they build these horrible cars.
So I think similar to the Vatican, which is a separate, like, independent state or whatever you want to call it. I think it's kind of like maybe sticking with the Australian thing that we got going.
Sure.
It's like
it's fucking Queensland.
Carved off little area of like, well, I'm thinking central Queensland.
Yeah, well, that's part of Queensland finally secedes and becomes this fucking car-based religious state. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm imagining this massive mine with all these cars and all this sort of stuff. Like they found this awesome way to give, back to the community by giving jobs, but it also pollutes the fuck out of the environment. Yeah. So I'm thinking, maybe you are an external sort of person coming to report on the new CEO.
Or potentially.
So you're a reporter doing sort of like, but then like there's some weird stuff.
Well, maybe you start getting
sort of
like, you get contacted by a whistleblower, and then it's, you're connecting to people within the company, and like it turns out the whistleblower is fairly high up, maybe one of the cardinals, or like maybe one step below them. What would that be? Like a scooter or something? I don't know. No, like
a vicar.
A vicar, yes. Beautiful. Love it. Love your work. Oh god, that's good.
That's
all right,
great.
so you get contacted by this vicar, and so this is just like the local. Basically, the vicars are they run the factory, like they're the head of a factory, which is sort of, so that might just be in a particular town. Obviously, most of the town is employed in this factory, and they're basically both, the manager of that factory and the religious leader of this area.
Yeah, I'm almost picturing like a Willy Wonka style town, where the factory is like this main thing in the center, and it's sort of like the town just sort of surrounds this thing, and no one's seen like the Cardinals for
right.
years.
Yeah, I think that's right. The Cardinals are a secretive upper management group.
Yeah, like the vicars, they only get contacts with the Cardinals via like electronic means, I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yes.
So you don't really know who's there. You don't actually know who the current Cardinals are. Yeah,
there's obviously the CEO is known because he's sort of the figurehead of the company.
Yeah.
And does make a lot of the top level decisions. But yes, there is this very secretive upper management level of the Cardinals making a lot of the decisions and passing them down to the lower levels of the company across this big religious state. So, if I can love this, who is this reporter or something? I guess they're a reporter or something coming in. What's their background? Yeah. I feel like they need to have some other skills to like, they can fight and shit. Like because I'm really picturing almost like an Uncharted vibe now or something, like it's this action adventure-y kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm imagining that the whistleblower is actually the newest vicar who just became a cardinal.
Or maybe he's up to become a cardinal or something. Like there's a power vacuum because someone's died or someone's mysteriously disappeared from the ranks of the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Oh god, again, I just wish we had enough fans to do fan art for us. I want to see the costumes and the hats and oh shit, I love it.
Yeah, but I kind of like the idea that it kind of turns into like a body horror sort of thing at the end where...
Oh my god, what, they're like literally giving themselves car parts?
Well, I'm imagining that John Pope is actually still alive and he's just like a brain in a jar. And
but it's all this like it's this fucking petrol run machine that's just constantly like attached to this generator that's belching out smoke.
Yeah.
Because so much of this religion is this like, it's basically car punk, right? It's auto punk or something.
Yeah. It's kind of like what you imagine the start of Mad Max could have actually been.
It's, this is the, we've fucking done another sequel. I know that was like last episode or maybe next episode, depending on what order these come out in. But this is the secret prequel to Mad Max.
I just love that it's like this body horror stuff that you find out. But yeah, I also do like the idea that this reporter comes to town. At the start, he's sort of on the outskirts, goes to a couple of pubs, starts interviewing a couple of different people. And then on the night where, this vote is supposed to take place, like everyone who's in the town sort of turns and just faces
like
the central smokestack, and they stand staring at it. And we're talking the most creepiest scene of every single person just still.
They just all turn in lockstep and just like face this thing and no one's looking away and they're all like...
Yeah, and you're sort of walking through it. Ooh. And it's just all these mannequin-like people just standing still. Not blinking. Like, you look at their eyes and there's like...
You see the reflection of the smoke in their eyes.
Yeah. I'm imagining this sort of scene of you walking through and, I'm imagining some of the vicars who are standing sort of guard around this.
They're the only ones watching
area.
You.
Oh, they notice that you're not actually watching. And so then maybe there's like a scene where they try to, take control because it turns out that there's, as I said, some body horror sort of thing of some sort of implant that all these people
or maybe it's even just around like once you've inhaled enough of this smoke that these factories are constantly putting out.
Yeah,
you sort of you're dumbed down and you're under their control to a certain degree, and so it basically just outs you as an outsider. But that's also what draws the attention of the whistleblower Vicar. Like you said, I think they are potentially up for moving up into the cardinals.
When the new pope is selected, if they get selected, then there's a free spot in the cardinals.
I think maybe that she's the first woman. She's going to be the first female cardinal or something.
Yeah,
and so there's already sort of some controversy around that.
This is fucking insane.
This is amazing. I really want to play this game and see that art direction on it.
Yeah, I'm imagining just kind of like what I'm imagining LA Noire to be. You know, that there's a couple of questions that you can ask on your pad, sort of thing, like the VR case files I'm talking about.
Right.
Because I'm imagining this would work perfectly for VR.
Perhaps. I was really picturing a very kind of Uncharted vibe. And again, you know, in Uncharted you've kind of got your little notebook and stuff. So I think in a similar way, you've got your reporter's pad and you're sort of taking notes and making connections.
Yep.
And I think maybe you go back and forth between the reporter and the vicar, the whistleblower, so you've got different levels where, you know, maybe she's sneaking through to find evidence on something. The
vicar's maybe doing some stealthy sort of missions inside the compound.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously some joint missions as well, where it's like, okay, she's in there, so she's got to sneak out, unlock the door so he can get in. You know, they both kind of fight their way through certain sections or whatever. Oh, that's so good.
I'm loving this.
All right, let's.
Yeah, I love this a lot.
That was awesome. Let's move on. I think we've got time for at least one more 3, 2, 1 click.
Yep, one more. And here's the word that I should have used in the last one: indexing.
Neuron.
I kind of like this as like someone's mapping the human brain.
Yeah, or some sort of like mapping it into software or managing to create a backup or something.
Yeah, I know that we've gone down this route before, but there's a lot of options there, I think. So, is this the early days of this technology that this game takes place? I think this is again like an alternate timeline, maybe in the kind of like a Black Mirror-esque.
Yeah. So you're thinking
alternate universe.
So is this because you want
early 2000s to late 2000s?
Yeah, I was going to say, is this because you want to go back to a particular period? Okay.
I'm still thinking, you know, post Y2K.
But pre-iPhone.
Maybe, but pre-iPhone. Yeah.
Okay. Just to kind of, to set the time period. Flip phones, no smartphones, but the internet
is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like what the Lawnmower Man would be for you know, the 2000s.
Well, that's interesting actually. Maybe the internet comes into it in some way, because indexing makes me think of search engines. Maybe this is an alternate universe where Google creates their search engine with biological computers as opposed to like digital.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. It's kind of like a what's it called? Minority Report-esque sort of world, where you've got like the precogs in Minority Report. Well, you've got the 3 people who are plugged into Google's headquarters, but they've recently just added a 4th.
Okay,
and I'm imagining that it's like a horny teenager.
All of a sudden, all the search results are just coming up with porn.
It's just free thought, like or free association or whatever, where you type in, you know, underwear and it goes very quickly to a porn subject, and then, you know, you type in, you know, where can I go to eat, and then it just, you know, goes very quickly down into like a porn subject again.
All right, so I think in this world, what happened is Larry and Sergey, of the founders of Google, figured out this technology for like searching the internet via a brain. And of course, who was their first subject, it was Jeeves.
Yeah. Of course, you Ask Jeeves.
Because you asked Jeeves.
They literally went to England, found a butler that they called Jeeves.
Well, no, I think it was just incidental. This is why I think in this world, Ask Jeeves. Maybe it's not Google. It's Ask Jeeves. Ask Jeeves became the big search engine. Google couldn't compete because of Jeeves was literally using his incredible brain, trillions of neurons, to search.
He realized that if he didn't do something different, then Google was going to take over the search engine thing. So he took his wife's research into the human brain, plugged himself into it at first, and then had to find some other people to plug in as well.
Yeah, I think he's got to still be in there though.
Yep.
And I think that his wife, I like that. His wife is like a neurologist who's been studying like a machine human connections.
Yep.
And so they experimented with this, but it went so well, and their company started making money. Like they couldn't afford to disconnect him because it brings the whole site down. And this is why they also had to start finding new people. But they have to find compatible brains. It has to be the right type of
people that have the same sort of brain chemistry as what.
Well, that's it, because they don't only have to be compatible with the internet and the machine stuff. They have to be compatible with the other searchers who are hooked into this.
Yeah. So I'm imagining that one of the characters in this game is actually you find out later on is actually a clone of Jeeves.
Oh, okay.
And that's who you play.
You play the clone of Jeeves because they've tried to, because the internet has grown so fast, so much by this point that they need more and more brains to continue indexing.
Yep. And the best way that they could actually verify, make sure that they were going to have extra brains is they created numerous clones of Jeeves.
Okay.
And you play one of these clones who's, obviously wanting to keep their life, sort of thing.
Well, so do you know you're a clone right away, or is this the sort of thing where it's
No, it's something that you learn. Yeah. You've always known your parents and all this sort of stuff, but turns out that they got paid a lot of money to bring a Jeeves clone to
All right, so here's the thing: how old are you at this point? Because is this a sort of fast-growing clone situation, or are we talking set?
I think you're 17. About to turn 18.
And so are we having to set it then in like current times, or are we?
Yeah, I think it's now set in
like 2015 or something.
It's 2018. 2015 to 2016, something like that. Because Ask Jeeves became huge in like the early 2000s. Like instead of dying, and then it's basically you're finding out through like some sort of investigation that you do in your house at the start. I'm thinking adventure game sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or almost a Gone Home-esque sort of thing where you're going through the house when you're home alone one day and you find this, certificate of authenticity.
Certificate of authenticity. This is an authentic Jeeves. It's got your name on it. It's like you're looking for your birth certificate. Okay, that's it. Like you need an ID to get you secretly want to get your license or something, and your parents don't want you to get your license.
Yeah. In fact, for your whole life, they've not wanted to let you out of the house, really. Like,
yeah, I don't think like a full on like lockdown in the house, but yes, like they are super overprotective, and
they get their final payday when you turn 18 and they turn you over.
But that's what I was going to say. Like, do they still want to turn you over, or have they like? Obviously, you think after raising a child for 18 years, you'd probably get attached.
Maybe that's why you're not allowed to go outside, because they think that if you go out, then they'll actually notice that you're still alive.
Right. So they've maybe faked your death or something.
Yeah.
That something. Yeah. Okay. I like that. Oh, that's cool.
I'm kind of liking this, but just the certificate of authenticity.
Yes. No, I love that. So you're looking around for your birth certificate because you're rebelling against your parents who keep you locked inside all the time. Maybe you're like talking to a friend on the phone or something. Like you've got this friend who
a pen pal sort of thing.
Well, no, I think they're just a school friend or whatever. Like you're probably homeschooled, but like you've got a friend or two, right? You've met, maybe even that you met online, or that they do give you some semblance of a social life.
Yeah. I'm thinking you can have some flashbacks to when you were a kid in primary school, and you always had like these black suited individuals with like glasses on that were in the back of your class, basically looking after, making sure that you didn't get into any trouble and all this sort of stuff, and very secret
What did your parents tell you then? Do you think that why they were there? Is it just that that you have rich parents? I guess they may be rich because they've done this. So it's like this quite wealthy family now that you've grown up in, but the only reason they're wealthy is because they were actually like beneath the poverty line 18 years ago, and in a moment of desperation they agreed to birth a Jeeves.
Well, what I'm imagining is, they were having trouble conceiving, and so when they went to their doctor for like in vitro fertilization, they said, well, that'll cost you this amount of money, but if you go down this line, we can promise you 18 years of of all this time with your kid. You'll get paid this amount of money, and basically it turns out, they think, yeah, this will be absolutely fantastic. We can afford to have another kid and all this sort of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe something happens during it, and that's the only kid that they've got.
Yes. Love it. Yeah. They kind of naively thought, we can give up our first child to then, because it
kind of like the old fairy tale.
His sacrifice will allow us to have the family that we want, even though he's going to get sent away forever. And they maybe don't know the extent of the fact that he's literally going to be hooked up to the internet and put in a. I think we still have them like in liquid. It's that same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Nutrients just seeping in through their skin. Oh my God, this is the best world. I mean, it's on par with the car world that we just came up with, but this is amazing.
On par with John Pope.
Yeah, it's on par with John Pope
and the Vaticars.
So, all right.
Yes, I'm liking the Gone Home sort of esque feel of going through your house.
I want a bit more of a connection with the
day.
Character, though. So I think, like, if you see mirrors, you get a sense of who you are.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think you do have these conversations with this other person, so you've got a bit of exposition going back and forth and like conversation.
Yeah, so I think you've now got like the J phone.
Yep.
Which is the Jeeves phone, Jeeves powered phone, and then you got J-mail, which you can
check your J-mail.
That's how you're contacting your friends. So basically, you can at any time sort of pull out your J phone and have a look, and it actually has different
apps and stuff.
I'm picturing like the butler sort of is like your Siri assistant and
totally,
and all this sort of stuff, and and it's got like little notes of like, if you look closely enough, you could actually imagine, because you are a clone of Jeeves, that there are some parts of the face that just look very close to your character that you're seeing in the mirror.
I think you'd have to make that pretty subtle, but totally.
Yeah. Well, Jeeves, I'm seeing, has the comb over sort of thing. I'm imagining that 18-year-old Jeeves does not have a comb over. He's got a full head of hair. And he doesn't have the pencil mustache.
Similar nose or something, similar facial structure, but not obvious enough to give the game away. Yeah, okay. So I like this as a first-person Gone Home-esque. You're exploring, you're talking, you can check your phone. You find this certificate of authenticity, and you're just like, what the fuck does this mean? Because I don't think it's common knowledge of how Ask Jeeves runs.
Yeah.
To them, it's just they are the most popular search engine, and nobody really knows. They just sort of jibber jabber about algorithms whenever anyone asks, but it's secret knowledge as to how they manage to find things on the internet so well and so accurately.
Yeah.
And so do you go, like, you obviously see on the certificate of authenticity that it's a Jeeves thing.
Well, I'm imagining what would your name actually be? Would it just be J, or would it be...
I mean, the name probably... I mean, obviously we want to make it somewhat clever. But, I mean, just because you're a clone doesn't mean they need to name you the same.
Philip J. Stevenson?
Yeah, you've never known what the J was for.
Yeah, and you look on your certificate of authenticity,
it's like
and it's
Philip
Jeeves. And like, I don't know what letter is what number letter is P? It's like 17 or something like that.
Yeah, because you're the 17th clone.
17 of 26
for sure.
Certificate of authenticity, and so you're a limited edition.
You're a limited edition,
like
and maybe then there's something on the back. Like maybe the contract is on their back or something. Maybe this is where you find out the agreement. Not why they want you, or even necessarily that you are a clone, but like it's maybe not explicitly that you're a clone, but that at the age of 18, you become the property of the Ask Jeeves company.
I kind of like the idea that you've woken up and like. It's the day before your 18th birthday, but all the doors are locked.
Yep.
So you're home alone, but there's no way sort of out. And so you're contacting your friend and all this sort of stuff. And the way that you could actually go is your friend is actually part of it.
I was thinking that maybe there's a bit of a twist where they're a plant to kind of make sure that you don't go too far off the rails. But yeah, at the beginning, you just think they're your friend. So are we thinking then that this is mostly set inside this house, like Gone Home? And there's just a lot of like internet research and talking and finding things around the home and searching. Yeah,
kind of like little bits of Orwell, like sort of researching some news reports that have come up. And then you've got like another moving around the house looking for some more information that you may have seen before. Like, okay, now go search in the basement and when you're looking in there, you see some extra stuff that actually
kind of puts you on the path to figuring this out. I don't think we want to. I think we need to take it out of the house at some point. But I think like maybe the entire first act kind of thing is it's just within the house and it's figuring this out and maybe it gets to the point where you're starting to get close to some sort of knowledge about what's going on here, and the door slams open, and the black suited guys are there, and they take you away. And then like the next section of it is you're in the Jeeves headquarters, and so then you probably get some exposition from Mrs. Jeeves or whatever, like from the wife who's basically the CEO,
who's your biological,
and is your
biological mother, is in she donated the eggs that were then implanted with the clone.
Sure.
Yeah, I kind of like that. That she's sort of like the head honcho of this whole thing now.
Yeah.
Her husband has been stuck in this thing for years, and she can't wait
decades basically, and
she can't wait to actually get him out.
Right, of course, because that's the long-term plan is like once all these clones come to fruition, they can pull him out because they won't need him in there anymore. Yeah, I like that. That's really good. And so you're, like you said, you're number whatever of 26. And so they've got a bunch in there already, but it's not enough. Like, because of the growth of the internet, they need all 26.
I'm thinking that maybe A through K, they tried doing like the sped up development.
Right. Or maybe maybe the first, like maybe A to E were just like kids. They just used the actual, like they did in vitro fertilization from Jeeves and from his wife. We should give her a name. Fucking Alta Vista.
Philippa.
Vista. We just call her Vista.
Okay. Yep.
So it was Jeeves and Vista's offspring. It was their offspring because they were hoping that there'd be enough genetic material there to make that work.
So A3E were like infants when they were put into the system, but they kind of burnt out.
Yeah, that's it. They like they literally just used their own children with surrogates, or maybe she birthed them even.
Yeah.
And tried to put them in there too young and they basically just died. God, this is horrific.
Yep.
And
F through K, they did the sped up.
Yeah, they tried to make faster clones because they're like, okay, we can't use infants. We need to get adolescents in there, and maybe they're still in there, but they're brain damaged in certain ways. Like it didn't fully work. Yep. And so they still haven't been able to pull Jeeves out. And so they're like, okay, well, we just need to be in this for the long game. We need to make an actual clone, let them, age correctly. Yep. And then when they all mature at 18, we put them all in there and Jeeves can come out.
Yeah, I'm thinking that L through O, they were all given to different parents, but different accidents happened, and you're the first one to actually.
I think maybe they've got, because I don't think they need just one. I think they still need multiple. Like,
yeah, but what you don't realize is your best friend Quentin is also Quentin J.
Right.
Whatever. He's a Jeeves.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that's what you find out through this thing.
Maybe. Maybe.
The idea.
Here's the thing. Maybe. All right, instead of it being before your 18th birthday, because the whole thing is, right, is that your parents faked your death. Or like, they don't want you taken. So it's actually a week after your 18th birthday. And that's why you're looking for this thing, because your parents have said that you can't get your license, you want to go get your license. But through all the searching that you do in your home, that flags things that shows the Jeeves company that you're still alive. And that's why they come and get you.
Yeah.
But part of all that finding stuff was, like, your friend Quentin went missing a day or two ago. Either you've got a few days, like either you do it over multiple days and you are talking to Quentin and then you can't get in contact with him anymore, or you've got a separate friend.
And then all of a sudden he starts coming back to you again and things don't seem quite right. But I do like the idea that Quentin
that's it. Maybe he starts contacting you via Gmail, but it's now he's hooked into the system. Now he's literally in the goo, right? And you don't realize initially.
And is that where Act 2 finishes?
No, well, I think that's still where Act 1. Well, no, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, like, so he starts getting in contact via your phone. This is after you've spent some time in the Jeeves facility. You've had some discussions with Vista.
I'm picturing, you getting this mail from Jeeves saying, "Okay, leave now."
From Quentin,
and basically, from Quentin, you open up the door, and basically, Quentin's giving you instructions on, hold here, wait for this guard to pass, and go now. And it's like, how are you knowing this? And you get into this thing, and you just see your friend Quentin in this jar, like with electrodes into his brain, and that's the end of the second act.
Yes.
Now
my God.
Now it's basically...
This is so good.
You two trying to escape the facility is the third act.
Oh, yeah, you have to break him out. All right, so I like the idea then. I think you've got a third friend, and I think that's who you are also talking to in that first section. And so and mostly just because I want to bring a woman into it as well, but you managed to then get back in contact with her after you find him, right? Like maybe you hadn't been able to...
Okay, is it Rachel?
Oh, God, no. I think she's literally just not. She's not actually wrapped up.
As in,
it.
You think no, she's not actually wrapped in it. She's just called Rachel. Like you
make that a red herring.
Oh my God, is this a weird thing? Like this particular one?
Well, I mean, there can be like intersex and stuff that can occur. I think during development and that sort of thing. So yeah, you could maybe give a red herring.
But we don't go down that route because we're not like
in that direction. Yeah. That it was maybe it was a genetically altered version of clone of Jeeves, but that's not actually. Yeah, you maybe find some documentation on a failed experiment of trying to create like female Jeeves and different, altering the genetics in different ways, but it was ultimately failed. But I do like that as a little red herring. And then I think basically she kind of takes over the position that Quentin was playing at the end of Act 2, where now she's kind of guiding you in different ways. Yeah. But I think now Jeeves himself is like contacting you as well, right?
Yep.
I think he's mostly been kind of in this internet coma for this time where he's just working, but all of this stuff happening and disconnecting Quentin has jolted the system. And so he's kind of, he's achieved consciousness now, but he's like uber powerful because he's basically been the internet in a lot of ways, or at least hooked directly into the internet for 20 years. And so, now he is like affecting things on your phone and like sending you stuff and contacting you.
And this where you actually get sort of like the AI almost attacking you sort of thing. Like,
well, I think he's in control of in control of the building, security and
systems.
Oh my God. And then obviously you come up against Vista because she's, she wants her husband back.
Yeah.
All right. So how does it end? I mean, obviously you get out. Does Quentin survive? Maybe that could be a branching thing, because that could be
I kind of like the idea that Quentin sacrifices himself to get you out.
Yeah.
So, in other words, he lets himself get caught just so that you can get away. So that you can
get away. Yeah, and you don't know what happens, but then there's this like great, denouement where you're back home,
or you're on the run, and then all of a sudden
you get a message.
The final scene in the thing, you're looking through your text, and all of a sudden you see those 3 little dots come up.
Yes.
On Quentin's
that's
name.
good.
That's
good.
It.
You're going back over your last conversation, and you just see the 3 dots. Oh, and then cut to black. Or maybe you literally you can sort of see yourself semi in the reflection of the phone. You see yourself give a little smile and then cut to black. Oh, dude, that just gave me chills. That's so good. Oh, fuck.
Oh, God, I fucking love
that is amazing. All right, well, we definitely need to end it there. That was almost an episode in itself just on that idea, but I fucking love when that happens. So if you want to find us online, view our previous episodes, none of which are as good as this one. Sorry, that was the best thing we've ever done. Go to podchaser.com/bitstorm. You can check them all out there. Check out our creator profiles and see what other shows we've guested on. We are also part of the 8-Bit Collective, and this is a group of like-minded podcasters who, we joined together into this network and help each other out, and we're all friends. Go to 8bit.net to check out those other podcasts there.
And we'd also like you to check out all our friends at the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network. Just check out hashtag AGPN or look for @AGP Network on Twitter, or look for the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network on Facebook. They're a group of like-minded individuals that just love video games and create a whole heap of podcasts about them. Finally, we'd like to thank Kuridas for the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And I'm off to Ask Jeeves.